Hello BookTube, I am back with another review, or actually a double review, because I had a good reading week last week. So I want to talk to you today about two books that I just finished, which at first seem kind of very different, but also turn out to be thematically connected in a way that I wasn't expecting. And the two books I want to talk about is A Closed and Common Orbit by Becky, the second in her Wayfarers series, and The Travelling Cat Chronicles by Hiro Arikawa, and it was translated by Philip Gabriel. So let's start with A Closed and Common Orbit. Said book 2 in the Wayfarers series. Plot-wise, it isn't that connected to the previous book. And it focuses on some characters who are minor characters in the first book, so in theory you could read it without reading the first book and probably get like 99% of the story. I would recommend reading the first book first though, because it is definitely set afterwards and there are like some references to the first book. So in this book we follow Sidra, who used to be an AI program controlling a spaceship. But for reasons that are explained at the end of the first book, she is installed into a kind of robot body and has to try and figure out how to live being confined to a human-like humanoid body rather than being in a spaceship with cameras everywhere. And just to add some complexity to the matter, AIs are not allowed to be in robot bodies in this universe. So her existence is illegal, and in theory she could be confiscated and anybody who helped her could be sent to prison. So in that sense it treads over some well-trodden sci-fi ground in terms of thinking about AI and android rights, and are AI people or not, when do they become people, what criteria do we need for that. It doesn't go very deep in it doesn't have too much new to offer in terms of those ideas. I mean, if you want a really in-depth discussion of some of these ideas, I point you to, for example, Ghost in the Shell, the anime movie. Can you say anime movie, or is it just anime? Anyway, that's on my. I don't usually watch anime, but I have watched Ghost in the Shell, which was excellent, which I can highly recommend. But yeah, so that goes more in depth, more philosophically in depth, at least with regards to the topics of AI personhood. Whereas Closed and Common Orbit stays more on the surface, but goes kind of in a different direction and connects it to embracing diversity and all the different ways people can be. And that was an aspect I really liked in the first book, and it carries over to this one. So it's again kind of a character-driven story, and a lot of it is about a group of characters kind of accepting each other's quirks and working out ways to live together and to make everybody happy and comfortable. And in that sense it's a really nice book and with a really great message. Like Jen Campbell sometimes says on her videos, it's a book that gives you a great big hug. So yeah, definitely a heartwarming read. And definitely I really enjoyed it. Just if you really want an in-depth discussion, it's not the book for you. Another piece of criticism I would have is that there are two narratives in this book, one set in the past, one in the present, and you kind of alternate between chapters which one you follow. But there doesn't really seem to be a reason for doing it that way. So it's almost like there are two novellas or half novels that are kind of just woven together so that they form one book in terms of page count rather than two separate novellas. But yeah, there are more books that do this kind of past-present interweaving, like you've got Use of Weapons from the Culture series. The fifth season also has multiple plot lines. I won't go in detail there because it'd be a bit of a spoiler. But where in the fifth season and Use of Weapons, kind of the non-linearity of the narrative and switching between plot lines is done for a very specific purpose. It's done to control the information that you receive as a reader and to prevent the dramatic irony, so to make sure you only know certain things at certain points in the story, to kind of, manipulate your reading experience, whereas in Close to Common Orbit, you don't really get that, right? So, the past stories from the point of view of this character called Jane 23 in fact. So, I mean, if you say Jane 23, any sci-fi fan already realizes she's probably a clone. And we also learn within like the first 20 pages which character in the present plotline is Jane 23. So there's no control of the flow of information, so it's not quite sure what the purpose, or I wasn't quite sure what the purpose was of splitting up the plot lines like that at the same time. I do think it worked. I mean, it didn't jar me out of my reading experience or anything. But it just feels like a technique that more could have been done with in the hands of a different writer perhaps. But yeah, like I said, despite the flaws, really enjoyed this. Highly recommended, especially for fans of the first book. Then the second book is the Traveling Cat Chronicles, which is about a cat named Nana, who belongs to a man called Satoru, and for reasons that are not clear, at least at the start, Satoru can't look after Nana anymore, and he's looking for someone to take over the care of Nana, and he visits various of his childhood friends to see if they can take care of his cat for him. And it's a really kind of charming story. We go along, a lot of it is written from the point of view of Nana, of the cat, which kind of makes it unique. There's a lot of very clever dialogue, where there almost is a dialogue between Satoru and Nana, where it almost looks like Satoru can understand Nana, but probably he can't, but just like the dialogue works even if they are just talking to each other without the human being able to understand the cat. So it's really cleverly done. It's kind of subtly highlighted that the human can't understand the cat by the fact that when the cat speaks, there are never quotation marks, unlike when humans speak. Which is an interesting technique. And so yeah, we see a lot of this from the point of view from Nana, and get his commentary. He's kind of captures well the character of a cat, kind of cynical, grumpy, slightly aloof character, who you get to like anyway. And we go along, we visit all these childhood friends of Satoru and kind of learn about his life and his childhood experiences as well. And again, one of those books that gives you a nice warm hug and a great comfort read. Highly recommended. So when you've heard that, you might think, so what is the connection? We have this book about AI set in a far future sci-fi, and a book set in contemporary Japan, about a man and his cat. And kind of the link between those two books is the idea of family and who is your family, and our ability to choose our family for ourselves. And there's a quote also in Traveling Cat Chronicles, which says, "Distant relatives you hardly ever see are, to a child, like total strangers. Friends are much closer. Why don't adults understand that?" And I think all through the Traveling Cat Chronicles, there's kind of this thread running, saying that friends can be far more important than family, and through the friends we make, we can kind of choose our own family, who might be more important and closer to us than our blood relatives. So there are lots of kind of parent issues going on. Not that the book really delves into kind of those, makes it all sad stories and issues, but the people that don't connect all that much with large swathes of their family, but only to some of them. and kind of, for example, Setru is orphaned, and via his friends kind of adopts new family members. So he has a friend who lives with his grandmother, and he kind of also adopts his friend's grandmother as his own grandmother. And yes, all through that we have this idea of being able to choose your own family and the value of friendship and the support of friends. And that's kind of also a theme that goes on in A Close and Common Orbit, and also in the first book in the Wayfarer series. This idea of, the power of friendship and finding a group of people to look after you and to look after them, to look after each other, as kind of being your real family, and thinking of family in ways differently than just who you happen to be related to. So all in all, in both cases, really heartwarming reads. Definitely not flawless by any means. The Traveling Cat Chronicles descends into sentimentality a bit too much maybe on occasion, but yeah, in both cases, really heartwarming reads. Books give you a nice big hug, and definitely recommend it. If you've read either or both of them, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Please do leave them down below, and see you soon. Bye bye.